Welcome to SamvaadX News Podcast. Today is Thursday, 1st May, and the time as we record this is 9 a.m.
We are Raj Patel and Priya Shah here.
And we're diving straight into the most significant news developments happening right now.
Yeah, we've pulled together updates from, quite a few sources to give you a clear picture.
We've got a lot to cover today. Everything from the India-Pakistan situation, some surprising economic news from the U.S.
Plus sports, tech updates, and even, unfortunately, some fraud trends we need to be aware of.
Exactly. The idea is to get you up to speed quickly on what's important and interesting.
So let's start with India and Pakistan, this reciprocal airspace closure. Well, it's pretty serious.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. So Pakistan closed their airspace first, right? After that awful attack in Pahalgam.
That's right, the attack where, tragically, 26 people lost their lives. Pakistan shut its airspace following that.
And now India's responded in kind, closing its airspace to Pakistani flights. This feels like more than just symbolic, doesn't it?
It really does. Pakistan's move was directly linked to Pahalgam, and India's blamed Pakistan-based elements vowed a strong response, and now we see this airspace closure.
And the immediate impact is obvious, right? Air travel disruptions, longer flights, more costs.
Definitely. But maybe more significantly, it just highlights this deepening diplomatic freeze between them. Things are tense.
Yeah, and it's not just them. We're hearing calls from the U.S., the UN, basically asking for everyone to step back, talk it through.
Precisely. The U.S. seems quite involved. Secretary of State Rubio has reportedly spoken to both the Indian External Affairs Minister and the Pakistani PM.
What's the message there? Just cool it down.
Pretty much. De-escalation, find a responsible solution through dialogue. That's the push.
But the rhetoric is still pretty strong on both sides.
Oh, yeah. India is sticking to its position, blaming Pakistan-based groups. Pakistan denies involvement, wants a neutral probe.
And they've warned of a response, too, haven't they? Claimed some kind of intelligence.
They have. Mentioned a decisive response to any Indian military action and claimed credible intelligence about an imminent Indian strike. Though it's important to note, no evidence was actually provided for that claim.
Okay, let's shift focus domestically. Big news here, the central government is going ahead with a caste-based census.
Yes, as part of the next population count. And this is, it's quite a change from their previous position on this.
Right. They seemed hesitant before. What's the reaction been like?
Well, politically, Rahul Gandhi welcomed it. But he immediately brought up the 50% reservation cap, suggesting this new data should force a rethink on that.
And it's been a long time since the last one, hasn't it? Like way back.
Ages ago. The last proper socioeconomic caste census was 1931, under British rule. So, yeah, a very long time.
So the arguments for it are about better welfare targeting, affirmative action.
Exactly. Proponents say you need current data for that. But the critics, they worry it just reinforces caste identities, which many want to move past.
And you can't ignore the timing, right? With state elections, especially Bihar, coming up.
The political strategy element is definitely part of the conversation, yes. It's seen by many as potentially influencing those upcoming elections.
Okay. Moving to some worrying incidents in Delhi. First, that big fire at Dilli Haat.
Yes. Wednesday evening, multiple fire trucks were there.
Thankfully, no casualties or injuries reported, which is the main thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Huge relief there. But the shop owners, reports say they're just devastated. Years of work gone up in smoke for some.
And the cause is still being looked into.
Yeah, under investigation. And this comes, not long after that fire in a Delhi slum area.
Yeah.
It does raise questions about fire safety overall in the city.
It really does. And then, just incredibly tragic, that biker killed in Delhi over road rage.
Horrible story. Beaten to death after some kind of altercation on the road. Apparently involved people in an SUV after a minor collision or dispute.
Just awful. Police are looking for the people involved.
They are. It's a shocking example of road rage, the kind of violence you sometimes see in Delhi.
And it adds to this general unease. I saw a report about a GPS tracker found on the Delhi BJP chief's car, too, linked to alleged threats.
Right. That report is also circulating, adding to the broader concerns about law and order in the capital.
Okay, one more national item, this situation in Karnataka with the bus driver.
Yes. The KSRTC, the State Transport Corporation, is investigating after a video showed a driver stopping his bus, reportedly on a highway, to offer namaz.
And that's caused a stir online.
Mixed reactions, yeah. KSRTC's main concern seems to be safety. Stopping on a highway isn't standard procedure, and potential violation of protocols for stopping mid-journey for personal reasons.
So they're looking into the specifics, where it was, how long, passenger safety.
Exactly. The probe will cover all those aspects.
Okay, let's broaden our view again, look internationally. We mentioned the U.S. urging India-Pakistan de-escalation, but there's also big economic news from the States.
Yes, the U.S. economy actually shrank in the first quarter of 2025 by 0.3%.
Wow, okay. How did the markets react?
Initially, a bit of a sell-off on the stock market, but it seemed to recover later in the day.
And President Trump's take? Still positive?
Very much so. He's saying the tariffs weren't the cause and is predicting an economic boom ahead.
Interesting. Especially when you hear that in Europe, even the threat of tariffs has apparently dampened confidence.
That's true. And back in the U.S. politically, the Senate actually rejected a move to block those tariffs, so it shows there's still division on that trade policy.
Right. Now, shifting to the Middle East, the Houthis in Yemen are making some pretty bold claims.
They are. They're claiming they shot down a U.S. F-18 fighter jet. This was supposedly during an earlier attack on the USS Harry S. Truman.
A U.S. F-18, that's huge if true. Have they claimed anything else?
Yes. Also fresh drone attacks targeting another U.S. carrier and even cities in Israel. It's all part of this ongoing Red Sea crisis, their targeting of shipping.
Has the U.S. confirmed the F-18 claim?
Not immediately, no.
Well,
but if it is verified, wow, that would be a major escalation. It really shows their capabilities might be increasing.
Definitely something to watch. Okay. Elsewhere internationally, a deal between the U.S. and Ukraine about reconstruction.
Yes, establishing a joint reconstruction fund. But there's a really interesting detail emerging.
What's that?
Reports, and some draft details apparently, suggest Washington might get preferential access to new natural resource deals in Ukraine as part of this reconstruction effort.
Preferential access to resources, like minerals, energy.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent mentioned unlocking Ukraine's growth assets.
And this comes after President Trump publicly asked Ukraine to repay U.S. aid, right?
It does. So, it raises questions about the long-term strategy, linking aid to resource access, perhaps. It's about economic and strategic interests in Ukraine's recovery.
Okay. And one more international item, Instagram blocking accounts.
Yeah, several Pakistani actors and celebrities, people like Hania Amir, Mahira Khan, their accounts are reportedly blocked for users in India.
And this is linked to the current tensions. After Pahalgam?
Seems to be the direct trigger, yes. The exact reason or who ordered it wasn't specified, but it looks like a spillover of the diplomatic strain into, the cultural and social media space.
Okay, let's switch to sports. Big news in the IPL yesterday.
Huge. Punjab Kings knocked Chennai Super Kings out of the playoff race. PBKS beat CSK.
And that's significant for CSK, right? Missing the playoff.
Very. It's the first time they've missed out in back-to-back seasons. A real blow for them.
And the game itself had some highlights. Chahal.
Oh, yeah. Yuzvendra Chahal got the first hat-trick of the season for PBKS. And crucially, he got MS Dhoni out as part of that.
Wow. Shreyas Iyer played well for Punjab, too.
He did. Sam Curran tried his best for CSK, but it wasn't enough. This win pushes PBKS up to second on the table, really boosting their own playoff chances.
And with CSK out, the big question, MS Dhoni's future.
Always. Danny Morrison asked him directly after the match, and Dhoni gave his classic reply.
Let me guess. Definitely not. Or something else.
Close. He just said, I don't know. Very non-committal.
Huh. Okay. He stepped down as captain, but it's still playing. The speculation continues then.
Absolutely. His popularity, his cricketing brain.
Yeah.
People always wonder what he'll do next.
Okay, some good news in athletics now. The Indian men's relay team.
Yes. The 4x100-meter relay team set a new national record. Great stuff.
Fantastic. Who's in the quartet?
It's Gurinder Veer Singh, Animesh Kujur, Manikanta Habladhar, and Amlan Borgohain.
And this was their first time competing together. Even better.
Exactly. It's a big boost for them, looking ahead to things like the World Relays, maybe even the Olympics.
Are they in a qualifying spot yet?
Not automatically. They're currently outside those positions.
Yeah.
But, setting a national record is a huge step in the right direction. Shows potential.
Definitely. Okay, let's talk tech. AI jobs seem to be booming in India.
That's the projection, yeah.
Yeah.
A 45% surge expected in AI-related jobs in FY26. This is despite a broader slowdown you hear about in the IT sector overall.
So what kind of roles are in demand?
Things like machine learning engineers, generative AI developers, that's the AI that creates stuff, AI consultants, data scientists, those kinds of skills.
And who's doing the hiring?
Reports say the GCCs, the Global Capability Centers, are particularly active. And they're apparently offering pretty high salaries to get the right people.
But is there enough talent?
That seems to be the challenge. There's a shortage of skilled AI professionals. So companies are having to invest a lot in training and upskilling their workforce.
Makes sense. On the social media side, Instagram has a new feature, Blend.
Yes, Blend. It's about private sharing of reels.
How does that work?
Basically, it lets two friends create a sort of private shared feed just between them. Instagram will even recommend reels that thinks both friends will like, based on what they share and watch.
So more for close friends, less public.
Exactly, enhancing that private sharing and discovery between buddies. And you can create or leave a blend whenever you want.
Interesting. Okay, shifting to business news. The live entertainment scene in India is taking off.
It really seems to be. We're seeing major international artists coming, and fans are apparently spending more on tickets and experiences.
Any examples of the impact?
Well, they estimated the Coldplay tour alone generated something like 641 crore for the economy. That's a huge number.
Wow. So there's a real appetite for these big international shows now.
Definitely. And the infrastructure is improving. Audiences seem willing to pay for those premium experiences. It's a growing market.
And also in business, a new partnership in electronics manufacturing.
Yes. Inventec from Taiwan is partnering with Dixon Technologies to enter the Indian market.
Inventec. They make stuff for big global brands, right?
They do. And this move is seen as, helping India's push to become a global electronics hub using those PLI schemes, the production-linked incentives.
So the idea is more domestic manufacturing, jobs, less reliance on imports.
Precisely. Partnering with a strong local player like Dixon helps them leverage those government incentives and build capacity here.
Okay. Now, unfortunately, we also need to cover some news about frauds and scams. This digital arrest scam sounds particularly nasty.
It really is. Police in Noida arrested a private bank employee, Sonu Pal, in connection with a scam that defrauded someone of 84 lakh.
And his alleged role was providing bank accounts.
That's what they're saying. He allegedly opened accounts using other people's identities, kept the bank kits, and got a commission from the fraudsters.
Can you just explain the digital arrest part again? How does that work?
So the fraudsters call up, pretend to be police or customs or some authority. They tell the victim they're implicated in a crime, like drugs found in a parcel with their name.
Okay.
Then they force the victim to stay on a video call, sometimes for hours, telling them they're under digital arrest. They build pressure, fear.
And eventually coerce them into transferring money to clear their name or something similar.
Exactly. It's pure psychological manipulation and extortion. In this case, 84.16 lakh was transferred. 3 other accused were arrested earlier in this specific case.
Just awful. People need to be so careful. On a regulatory note, SEBI is looking at IPOs.
Yes. The Securities and Exchange Board of India, they've proposed making it mandatory for certain existing shareholders, probably promoters, big investors, to dematerialize their shares before a company's IPO.
Dematerialize, meaning turn physical share certificates into electronic ones.
Correct. Right now, it's usually the public shareholders who get demat shares after the IPO.
So why the change? What's the goal?
It's about plugging potential gaps, basically. Enhancing transparency, making the whole IPO process smoother. It aims to prevent problems with transferring physical shares, ownership disputes, or even fraud involving those physical certificates right before listing.
Okay, that makes sense. Streamlining things. Finally, something that went viral, a cricket video.
Yeah, a short clip involving Kuldeep Yadav and Rinku Singh from the Kolkata Knight Riders.
What happened?
It looked like Kuldeep playfully slapped Rinku after a match. It got shared online, and people started debating it.
Oh, like some thought it was bad, others thought it was just banter.
Exactly that. Different interpretations. KKR, the team, actually put out a clarification saying it was just lighthearted fun in the dressing room, camaraderie.
Just shows how quickly things can get picked up and discussed online, doesn't it?
It really does. Even a seemingly small interaction.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive for today. We've certainly covered a lot of ground.
From those India-Pakistan tensions and the U.S. economy, right through to sports highlights, tech trends, and those important safety and fraud alerts.
Yeah, we hope this gave you a clear, concise overview of the key stories happening right now. It's definitely a busy news day.
It is. Staying informed is crucial in such a fast-moving world.
See you tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe to SamvaadX News Podcast channel and hit that bell icon.